problem 11A demonstration, this is to help you when you are to complete 11B. I will not be completing the entire problem. I'm going to complete the first 3 transactions. I will then take it down to the bottom. I will skip ahead and get all the answers in, show you how to get this final balance row, and show you how to do this portion of it. You will be doing the same thing for problem 11B, okay? So we've been evaluating business transactions. These were the same transactions that were part 2 that you were to have completed by today. So you have the answers to these, and I'm going to show you how they are plugged into the accounting equation. So Larkin deposited, I believe in your sample I made it Mickey Mouse. Larkin deposited $25,000 in a bank account in the name of the business. So we know that that is an increase to cash for $25,000, so we plug it right in. We're going to pop on over to capital. We know he's depositing, he's making an investment. And that's all we need to do for that transaction. Okay? Paid the office rent for the month, $950, check number 1001, and then it says rent expense. Okay, so you know that it's going to be an expense. You know that we're paying it, so it's going to be a negative $950. We're paying out the cash. Remember, you have to put it in as negative. And we come over to expense. We're going to plug it right here in expense. Now, I realize that that does not say rent expense. I'm going to show you how you indicate what expense it is. Okay, so $950. Remember, this is not a negative. Okay? Remember, that expense column is a tally of all the money that you are spending. Now, right here in this column is where you indicate what type of expense or revenue it is. So this will say rent expense. Okay? All right, so now we need to update our balances because now we have more than one transaction. You should be familiar with this. You've done it before, or at least you should have at this point, unless you're waiting until the last minute to do that assignment. You're going to auto sum and press enter. And then you're going to pop over here. Remember, I always want you to use cell references whenever possible. So equals, and click the cell that has the last balance in it. Same thing here. Equals, click the cell that has the last balance. Okay? All right, moving on. Transaction C, bought supplies for cash, $357, check number 1002. Don't worry about those check numbers. Those are what we call source documents, and we are not there yet. Okay, but that's where this information is coming from. So bought supplies for cash. So we know we have a negative $357 to our cash. Remember, you always put it in as a minus if you're subtracting cash. And then supplies, we have a positive $357. We don't have any kind of expense or anything over there. So then we can go ahead and just update anything that needs to have an updated total. So we're going to add, right? And then equals, reference the cell. There's nothing here. Equals, reference the cell that has the most updated balance. Equals, reference the cell. Okay, so that's the first 3 transactions and how they look in the accounting equation. I'm going to stop now, plug in the rest, and I will come back and talk about a few other things that you'll need to do when completing 11B. So I went ahead and filled in the rest of the transactions for 11A. I will make a list of all the transactions available for you in case you want to look at the transactions and see how they plug in. Like I said, most of them were ones that you did already that we reviewed, but there are a couple different ones. So I want to point out transaction F. This was a payment. You sold services for cash. Okay, so that's why we have a cash and we have a revenue, and we marked it as professional fees. Okay, so there's that one. I'd like to point out G. G was we made a payment to a creditor. So we had a decrease in cash, and we also had a decrease over in accounts payable. Okay, and I think that was the only one. Those were the only 2 that I wanted. Oh, and K is the owner withdrawing money for personal use. So we have a negative cash and then drawing. Remember, this is that silly, we increase to subtract, right? So the amount that we withdrew went up, but it's actually going to be backed out of the equation. Okay, so let me show you. We're going to update the balances for every single category or every single account. All right, and remember, whenever possible, we will reference cells. To reference cells, we always click the last available balance that is updated. I'm going to be looking for formulas. I don't want to see that you used a calculator or that you copied the numbers from somebody. I want to see that the formulas were used. And then the last thing you're going to do is show me that the left side and the right side of the equation are equal. So what you have to do down here is you have to take the values from each of the accounts and plug them in. So we see we have cash is a value of $26,152. Supplies is $357. And then office equipment is $10,592. And then you will auto sum those to show me that that side of the equation is going to equal the other side. So 37,101. Now, if I did this correct, this should match. So just a couple tricky things here. When you're plugging these values in, okay, you have to think of what they're doing to the equation. So if it's increasing, like accounts payable is added to capital, but then drawing is subtracted, you have to put the drawing in as a negative and you have to put the expenses in as a negative. Okay, because then you're going to add these up to show they balance. So 89.56, 25,000. All right, here's our drawing. Yes, here it's 1,250, but see, there's a little note for you. Enter it as a negative number. Okay. Revenue, $6,777. And then expenses, again, enter as a negative. Because we're going to subtract to add, right? It's craziness. All right, then we can go ahead and auto sum, and fingers crossed, we balance at $37,101. Okay, so for problem 1.1b, you're going to have to do all of that.